And carefully watching Hurricane Milton, still a Category 5 in the Gulf of Mexico. Your local forecast in just a few minutes.
Tonight on WVUA 23 News at 10, Councilman Norman Crow hosted a Q&A session tonight around a new resort project, what numerous worries were communicated, and the Tuscaloosa City Council proclaimed October as Down Syndrome Awareness Month, how this initiative supports those with Down syndrome. WVUA 23 News starts right now.
This is WVUA 23 News at 10.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Laura Vale in tonight for Jabari Pruitt. And tonight's top story, the continuing threat of back-to-back hurricanes hitting the southeast. Hurricane Milton continues to re-intensify, making it the largest hit to the Tampa Bay area in over a century. Milton has now caused counties within Georgia to enter a state of emergency. The storm is also expected to generate storm surges of 10 to 15 feet, reaching the potential to be the most catastrophic for the Tampa Bay area. Hurricane Milton hasn't even made landfall in the U.S., and it's already projected to be at least a $1 billion disaster. This is according to an NOAA official who confirmed both Helene and Milton's impacts will cost, quote, a multiple of tens of billions of dollars each. Lee Waldman reports.
Storm chasers from the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration on a, quote, bumpy ride flying inside Hurricane Milton as it tracks toward Florida. The storm is expected to double in size before slamming into the Sunshine State late Wednesday, just 2 weeks since Hurricane Helene hit.
Well, my mom just lost everything in the Helene storm. Don't want to do it again or potentially have anything bad happen.
The back-to-back storms left little time to clean up. Piles of debris still not picked up from Helene could be tossed around by Milton's winds and water, causing new hazards.
There's still a lot of debris out there. So it is a concern, and we're running out of time with that, which is another reason why the best thing that we can advise for people at this time is those are the areas that are required to evacuate, so please do so.
Officials are pleading for people to leave, warning that they risk being killed if they stay.
This is not survivable. I just want to tell you, if you think you're going to be able to stay out there and protect your property, it's not going to happen.
The storm's eye and eye wall could come ashore in the Tampa area and unleash record storm surge, potentially becoming the worst storm to hit the city in over 100 years.
If you're going to get out now.
NOAA officials warning that the destruction from Hurricane Milton is already roughly projected to cost, quote, multiple tens of billions of dollars. In Tampa, Florida, I'm Lee Waldman.
Almost 20% of gas stations in the state are empty. The governor is bringing in tankers to refuel and telling people this isn't a danger for just the coast, but will impact the entire state. Parts of the southeastern United States haven't recovered from Hurricane Helene, and now Milton continues to threaten. The storm is projected to make landfall as a Category 5 now. Florida highways have been crammed with what state officials expect could be the largest evacuation since 2017's Hurricane Irma. Officials are warning Milton's impact could be even more severe.
There's been 5 to 7 storms in the last 10 years that have rapidly intensified from a 1 to a 5 in less than a day. And that is not normal. We've never seen that before. And all of a sudden, in just the last 7 years, we see all these storms that are rapidly intensifying. Now, we can't just jump out and say without evidence what that is, but it does have climate change fingerprints all over it.
Milton is now expected to make landfall later and stronger than anticipated. And the American Red Cross is in critical need of blood donations. Since Hurricane Helene, the aftermath has led to cancellations of more than 100 blood drives. Those who donate during the month of October will receive a $10 Amazon gift card. For full details on how to register and blood drive locations, visit redcrossblood.org/treat. And Chief Meteorologist Richard Scott joins us for a look at weather. Richard, good evening.
Hey, Laura, good evening to you. Let's talk about Milton, still a Category 5 hurricane. Winds at 160 miles per hour. Pressure has risen a little bit in the past few hours, up to 915 millibars. The latest track moves to Sing Inland somewhere near or maybe just a little south of Tampa, which would be good news for Tampa in terms of the storm surge, somewhere between Tampa and Fort Myers, Florida. That's going to come in late Wednesday night into the pre-dawn hours Thursday morning as either a Category 3 or a Category 4 storm, according to the National Hurricane Center. Hurricane warnings continue. We'll talk more about this threat for Florida and your local forecast in just a few minutes.
Tuscaloosa Councilman Crow hosted a public Q&A session for residents to ask questions about the new Sports Illustrated Resort. WVUA 23's Jalen Barron has more. Jalen?
Laura, I could feel the tension and anxieties of residents in District 3 on the proposed resort. Community members asked Councilman Crow demanding questions and answers and openly expressed concerns for their city. Residents communicated numerous worries tonight at the meeting. The most talked about is the potential eyesore the project could bring to the city, the frustrations about major traffic problems that could occur if the city decides to go through with it, and the demand of staff and faculty for the resort.
How are we dealing with the issues that would be brought on by a new development? I think just on a personal side, I think that it's a great thing that somebody wants to invest $250 million in Tuscaloosa for a new hotel, but if they're investing the money, what are they actually building, and how does that impact our district, but really impact the city? I think those are the questions we need to ask.
Councilman Crow urges residents to attend the City Council public hearing that will take place next Tuesday and to bring all concerns and questions about the resort to the hearing. Laura?
October is National Bullying Prevention Month, and students all over Tuscaloosa showed up ready to stomp out bullying. Yesterday, students, faculty, and staff at Tuscaloosa County School System schools marked World Day of Bullying Prevention by wearing blue, as a representation of standing united against bullying. The school system hopes to promote the importance of kindness and standing together. Mayor Maddox proclaimed October 2024 as Down Syndrome Awareness Month during the City Council meeting today. Tuscaloosa City Council said they support the initiative of organizations working to ensure those with Down syndrome receiving adequate services. Maddox has family who works with special needs children. He said, quote, "This is not only close to our city's heart, it's close to my family's heart as well," end quote. Tuscaloosa District 5 Councilman Kip Tyner said he looks forward to making the proclamation every year.
And we also see the services and the so many great accomplishments from those with Down syndrome. You know, we are seeing a lot more kids being mainstreamed into the public schools. Integration that way, I think, is so wonderful. I think it's helps the understanding of maybe some misnomers out there about kids with Down syndrome, and so I think it's a win-win, and they can really learn from each other.
The Office of the Governor of Alabama said 1 in every 700 births are born with Down syndrome. 85 of those births occur in Alabama every year. And the Tuscaloosa American Legion Post 123 paid tribute to Sergeant Earl Gregory for his heroic act on October 8, 1918, during the Battle of Bois de Concombois, France. Gregory received the Medal of Honor for his actions on the battlefield. The event included full military honors, an official wreath ceremony, a color guard, and a 21-gun salute. Alabama Senator Gerald Allen presented a state resolution honoring Sergeant Gregory. Sergeant Gregory is buried at the Tuscaloosa Memorial Park and Chapel. Stillman College hosted its National Night Out today, where the community showed up to enjoy food, music, and more. The event featured vendors from across Tuscaloosa, the Blue Pride Marching Band, and dancers and cheerleaders from local high schools. The president of Stillman College, Dr. Yolanda Page, says the presence of local law enforcement was especially important to regain trust between law enforcement and the Black community. One of the nation's most anticipated presidential elections may also become the most expensive before Election Day. And a recent survey discusses the major effects social media has on teenagers and their emotion. What the CDC findings are, WVUA 23 News will be right back. The 2024 election is forecasted to be the nation's most expensive federal election ever. A new analysis from nonpartisan organization Open Secrets says spending to elect a president and members of Congress will hit at least $15.9 billion. Outside spending, including super PACs, is helping drive up that price tag. It has already reached about $2.6 billion. Open Secret expects outside spending to top $5 billion before Election Day. In this cycle, the top 5 mega donors to outside groups all support Republicans. An Iranian president claims Israel is ignoring rules of war and accuses U.S. and Europe of double standards. The Iranian president has accused Israel of indiscriminate attacks on women, children, and the elderly in its military operations, and criticized the United States and Europe for supporting what he called a barbaric government. Speaking in Tehran on Thursday, President of Israel was refusing to follow the rules of war and accused its allies of double standards, noting that Iran was often criticized over its human rights record.
Europe and America have placed a barbaric government here, and some people who claim to support human rights defend it. It doesn't observe any human limits. It easily bombards women, children, elderly, and young people.
The president's remarks came during a ceremony celebrating the return of ancient Persian clay tablets from the United States. Teenagers are spending a lot of time online, and it appears to be playing a factor with their overall emotions. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention is out with its Youth Risk Behavior Survey. It notes that more than 3/4 of high schoolers use social media several times a day. The survey finds the more frequently students are online, the more likely they were to feel depressed or hopeless. Those in that group were also more likely to say they had been bullied and had seriously considered suicide. In a recent New York Times podcast, the U.S. Surgeon General said there are benefits to the World Wide Web, but for youth that it comes with, quote, growing evidence of harm. And the Biden administration unveils a rule that it hopes will deliver cleaner and safer water. The new policy calls for water utilities nationwide to replace lead service pipes within a decade. Lead poisoning can potentially cause severe and irreversible harm to a body's nervous system, especially for children. Officials say a major source of lead poisoning comes from lead pipes that bring water into apartments and houses. The White House says lead poisoning disproportionately affects lower-income communities and communities of color. Lead piping for new plumbing was banned by the federal government in 1986, but officials say tens of millions of people may still get their water from old lead plumbing systems.
And all dry this evening across West Alabama. Look at that local forecast up next. Hear my forecast every day on 92.1 The Possum. And start you off live this evening. This is the Algo traffic camera looking over Interstate 10 down in Mobile Bay, looking towards a west direction towards downtown Mobile off of the distance. And hey, along Alabama's beaches and Alabama's Gulf Coast, no weather hazards at all, as Milton will stay well off towards the south. Let's go to our Brian Diddy camera. Here in Tuscaloosa, we're looking northeast from the stadium. That's Reese Pfeiffer Hall on UA campus. A nice, clear and dry night. In a cooler night, temperature already down to 63 in Tuscaloosa. We did formally top out at 80 earlier this afternoon. And Doppler radar nice and quiet. There's some ground clutter around the radar site. No chance for rain for tonight. But how about 55 already in Jasper? One of the cooler locations. Could see some upper 40s in Jasper tomorrow morning. But again, most everybody going to be in the 50s. Currently, we've got 60 in Linden and 62 in Talladega. There's a cloud shield with our hurricane down to the Gulf of Mexico. Milton, again, see the clouds over South Georgia there. And again, that's all part of that, the blow off of the anvil and blow off of the clouds with that hurricane. That's going to stay well to our south and east. Here's our local forecast heading into the day tomorrow. The bus stop 55 in the morning. Kind of cool start to the morning, but the afternoon on Wednesday quickly warming up. Already up to 77 at lunchtime and then 82 by mid-afternoon. Light northeast wind developing. So here is Milton, a Category 5 hurricane in the Gulf of Mexico, beginning that turn to the northeast there towards Florida. And again, that is on that projected path we've been talking about. Winds currently sustained 160 miles an hour. Pressure is at 915 millibars. Here's the latest tracking. This comes inland somewhere between Tampa and Fort Myers. Looks like it could be a little south of Tampa, which would be excellent news for Tampa Bay in terms of the storm surge, but still a very dangerous situation for much of Central Florida. Comes inland as a Category 3, maybe still a Category 4 hurricane at landfall. Hurricane warnings in blue shade, including Tampa, Orlando, Daytona Beach, Fort Myers, Sarasota, Florida, also that hurricane warning. Back here at home, our local weather going to be pretty quiet over the next several days. No chance for rain here. And again, we'll stay dry through the weekend into next week. But here comes that cooler air. We're feeling that tonight. Much cooler air set to arrive by the time we get into the early part of next week. So the temperature trend to be quite warm over the coming days with temperatures again in the 80s overnight, lows in the 50s. That's awesome. So tonight, again, temperatures back in the 50s. Tomorrow, we top out in the lower 80s. I do expect dry weather conditions for tomorrow and some cooler pockets over the next several nights. Could see those low 50s, maybe touching 49 in some of those much cooler pockets. You know how it is in Alabama. And we do have plenty of sunshine for Friday through the weekend, Saturday and Sunday. High somewhere around 83 to 84 for the weekend. Then that next surge of much cooler air coming in by the time we go into Monday and Tuesday. Could see some 40s at night, so it is going to be turning quite a bit cooler, Lauren.
I'm telling you, I wish I could see some of those 80s off of the forecast.
Yeah, and we'll get rid of them for a little while by the time we get next week. So, again, kind of getting still the best of both worlds of warm days, cool nights. Get out early or late in the evening. It really feels good out there.
And enjoy it. A good bonfire.
Absolutely.
All right, well, Sports Director Gary Harris is in for sports. Gary?
Hey, guys. Coming up, Alabama football turns the page from Vanderbilt to South Carolina. And former Crimson Tide running back and Heisman Trophy winner Derrick Henry is building a Pro Football Hall of Fame resume. 2 milestones he reached over the weekend that are very rare for anybody that's ever played the game. Sports is next. And welcome back to the News at 10. I'm Gary Harris. The 40-35 loss at Vanderbilt this past Saturday in Nashville will go down as one of the worst losses in Alabama football history. But regardless of the outcome, Crimson Tide head coach Kalen DeBoer says he still has full confidence in this football team.
We have a great football team. I'm convinced of that. I have no doubt of that. I believe in these guys. I believe in them more when I see the resiliency that they have, whether it's during the games that we've played, not just this last game, but different games. The way that they prepared that leads to the passion that comes out on the football field and that resiliency. They got fight in them. They want to win bad.
And Alabama football practice today in full pads ahead of this Saturday's game against South Carolina. There's Ryan Williams, the electric freshman wide receiver. Jalen Milroe, the Crimson Tide quarterback, leader of this football team. I expect him to rally these guys after that loss. There's Malachi Moore. He has certainly been in the spotlight following his temper tantrum at the end of the Vanderbilt game. Head coach Kalen DeBoer saying he will not be suspended. And we've got Malachi today talking about who helped him calm down when he lost his cool against the Commodores.
I would say when Coach DeBoer started talking to the team, that's kind of when I just calmed back down and kind of locked back in. And T-Book and Jan was talking to me, calming me down as brothers in that moment and telling me that they understand we got our back. And they're the ones that kind of helped me decompress and get back in the right state of mind.
And Alabama and South Carolina will kick off Saturday morning shortly after 11 a.m. at Bryant-Denny Stadium, Saban Field at Bryant-Denny Stadium on ABC. Well, South Carolina head coach Shane Beamer says that the Gamecock coaches are definitely paying attention to what the Vanderbilt offense did against the Alabama defense.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that Vandy put on tape that, frankly, we do in the run game as well. So there's certain things. Now, you also got to say to yourself, okay, Vandy had some success against them doing this, so is Alabama going to line up the exact same way and do the same thing? You don't know. But we're going to be who we are and do what we do. But there's certainly, like any game, whether it be the Vanderbilt game or the Western Kentucky and South Florida games that they played this year, there's going to be things that we see on tape that we feel like have a chance to be successful, that fit us, that we'll implement.
Well, University of Georgia football player Colby Young was arrested by the Athens-Clarke County Police early Tuesday morning and charged with assault on an unborn child and battery. According to police, Young posted bail Tuesday afternoon and was released from jail. The incident report states an ex-girlfriend of Young's called the police overnight and said she and the wide receiver got into a heated argument about their former relationship, and Young grabbed her left arm near her bicep and tricep and physically pulled her out of his room. Young is the 7th Georgia player to be arrested since March. Now for a Bama in the NFL update. Baltimore Ravens running back Derrick Henry reached 2 milestones on Sunday in the Ravens' 41-38 overtime victory over the Cincinnati Bengals. The Alabama Heisman Trophy winner became the 27th player in NFL history with 100 touchdowns in regular season games. He also became the 32nd player in league history with 10,000 rushing yards in regular season play. And at the age of 30, he is showing no signs of slowing down. He might be the last back we see get to 10,000 yards, to be honest with you, the way the game's changed. A shocker in the NFL, the New York Jets have fired head coach Robert Saleh just 5 games into the 2024 season. The Jets have started the 2024 season with 2 wins and 3 losses and are coming off a 23-17 loss to the Minnesota Vikings in London on Sunday. Saleh compiled a 20-36 regular season record with no playoff appearances in 3+ seasons on the sidelines. He's the NFL's first head coach to be fired this season. And Laura, I was caught off guard by that. I think the guy's done a nice job. They're just 5 games into the season, and they pull the plug on him.
Yeah. All right. Well, stick
Tough.
around. We'll be right back. Thank you. A collection of critters so alarming, one homeowner had to call the cops. Patrick Cornell has that story, and take a look at this.
Feast your eyes on the, well, hundreds of hangry raccoon eyes yearning for a feast. Police pulled up to a home in Washington state to find this trash panda party, or infestation, depending on your point of view. Deputies say the woman who lives at the house had been feeding a few random raccoons for decades, and word must have got out because recently they've been running amok, showing up at all hours hoping for a snack. The problem got so bad, the pests prevented the homeowner from getting inside her house, and she had to call 911 for help. Deputies say the creatures aren't committing any crimes, so Fish and Wildlife will have to handle the eviction, but neighbors are certainly ready for the paws and claws to get gone.
I do hope that somebody steps in and helps her, take care of this problem, and hopefully she'll quit doing it.
How about another animal in a place they just don't need to be? In Australia, a koala snuck up the stairs into a train station in Sydney. Video shows just how close this came to being a catastrophe, with the marsupial meandering along the side of the rails, perilously positioned on the platform. Trains in the area were warned to slow down just to be safe, because that mammal most certainly doesn't have the correct qualifications to traipse that close to the tracks. Get it? Qualifications? Okay, my bad. Moving on. Thankfully, the little guy got away, and after a short time, the creature clambered over the fence and headed off to a nearby national park. For Take a Look at This, I'm Patrick Cornell.
Well, how cute was that?
That's awesome.
Gary, any last look at sports?
Alabama football.
What do you say?
We talk about it a lot when they're winning, but when they lose a game, and I'll be on the radio in the morning at 9 a.m. We've been getting a ton of phone calls. The Gary Harris Show on Tide 100.9 FM.
Yeah. Well, last look at weather.
Hey, watching Hurricane Milton making that turn towards Florida now. Comes inland sometime tomorrow evening, tomorrow night, about 24 hours from now, close to Tampa, if not just a hair south of there, as a Category 3 or 4 at landfall.
All right. Well, that's it for us tonight. Good night and have a good night.
See you.